Rain hammered the alley behind St. Jude's Academy, turning blood to pink rivers on the asphalt. Hyun-jung Park, the man who once made Seoul's underworld bow, knelt in the filth, his designer suit torn, his shoulder weeping crimson. 24 hours ago, he commanded the Seven-Star Clan. Now, he was prey. Through his blurred vision, a pair of white patent leather shoes appeared. Small shoes. A child's shoes. He looked up. Kalia Brooks, 10 years old, adjusted the straps of her school backpack with the practiced patience of someone far older. Her white dress was spotless. Her expression was not fear, not pity, it was disappointment. She raised one small hand. Red laser dots bloomed across Hyun-jung's chest, a constellation of death painted by invisible guardians in the shadows. "You look like a mess, Mr. Park," she said, her voice carrying the weight of a judge's gavel. The Iron Dragon of Seoul, the man who had executed rivals with his bare hands, did the only thing that made sense in that moment. He bowed. Not out of respect. Out of survival. The child nodded once, satisfied. Get in the van. The compound was not what Hyun-jung expected. No warehouse. No abandoned building. Instead, Kalia's security team, 2 stone-faced former Special Forces operatives, drove him to a gated estate in Lincoln Park. The command center was a converted playroom. Servers stacked next to stuffed animals, surveillance monitors mounted above a canopy bed draped in fairy lights. Kalia sat at a desk doing homework, actual math homework, while Hyun-jung bled onto her carpet. "Sit," she said without looking up, pointing to a leather chair. A medical kit slid across the floor via robotic vacuum. "Patch yourself. We have 17 minutes before my tutor arrives." Hyun-jung stared. This wasn't an interrogation. It was an appointment. "You came for the oracle," Kalia continued, finally meeting his eyes. "My father. He died 3 months ago. Heart attack. I inherited his network." She gestured to the screens, live feeds of ports, banks, private airstrips across 3 continents. Every secret. Every transaction. Every dirty deal your people ever made. Hyun-jung's jaw tightened. "You're a child. And you're a refugee." She pulled up a file on the largest monitor, his file. Photos of the coup. Jae-sun's smirking face. The execution orders with Hyun-jung's name at the top. "My father kept contingency plans for situations like yours. He predicted you'd come. He also predicted you'd be useful." Useful. Kalia stood, walking to the window overlooking the manicured lawn. For a moment, she looked impossibly small, a girl playing dress-up in a world of monsters. Then she turned, and her eyes were ancient. "Jae-sun stole your empire using my father's stolen codes. He's hunting me because I'm the only one who can lock him out. You want revenge? I want to survive." She extended a hand, formal as a contract signing. "You'll be my enforcer. My shield. In exchange, I'll give you the keys to destroy him and reclaim the Seven-Star Clan." Hyun-jung looked at the small hand. At the girl who commanded invisible armies. At his only path back to power. He took her hand. It was surprisingly strong. "One condition," Kalia said, her grip tightening. "You do exactly what I say, when I say it. No improvisation. No ego. You've been the king. Now you're the knight." Outside, a black van pulled up. Another threat. Another test. Kalia glanced at her watch. "They're here for me. For men. Armed. They'll breach the east entrance in 90 seconds. She looked at Hyun-jung expectantly. "Well? You wanted to be useful." The Iron Dragon smiled for the first time in days. It was a terrible smile. He was born for this. 24 hours earlier, the Seven-Star Clan's headquarters in Gangnam burned. Hyun-jung had walked into his own war room to find Jae-sun sitting in his chair, flanked by 12 of Hyun-jung's most trusted captains. Former trusted captains. The red envelopes on the table told the story: blood money, paid in advance. Hyung, Jae-sun said, using the honorific like a slur. You've grown soft. Predictable. The clan needs vision, not violence. Hyun-jung reached for his gun. 3 laser sights found his chest before his fingers touched the grip. I'm not here to kill you, Jae-sun continued, standing. That would make you a martyr. I'm here to erase you. The beating was methodical. Professional. They broke his ribs but not his legs, left him functional enough to run. Hyun-jung understood the message, he was being hunted for sport. He escaped through the kitchens, stealing a delivery van, driving until the Seoul skyline disappeared behind him. At Incheon Airport, he used a ghost passport his mentor had prepared decades ago for this exact scenario. The old man's final gift included one piece of advice, scrawled on rice paper: if the dragon falls, seek the oracle in Chicago. 18 hours of flying. No sleep. Every shadow a threat. Now, in Kalia's playroom fortress, Hyun-jung pressed gauze against his shoulder while she worked at her computer, her small fingers flying across 3 keyboards simultaneously. You're lucky, she said, not looking away from her screens. 2 millimeters to the left and you'd have bled out over Iowa. Lucky, Hyun-jung repeated bitterly. Jae-sun seized your accounts at 4:47 a.m. Seoul time. The Seoul Metropolitan Police issued a warrant for your arrest at 6:15 a.m. Trafficking, murder, racketeering. Very thorough. She pulled up a document, rotated the monitor toward him. He's been planning this for 11 months. Hyun-jung stared at the evidence. Financial records, communications, blackmail files. His entire empire, dissected like a specimen. Your father knew this. My father knew everything. Kalia's voice softened slightly. He built backdoors into every system he touched. Including yours. She typed a command. A new screen appeared: cryptocurrency wallets, offshore accounts, safe deposit box locations. Jae-sun thinks he controls your fortune. He controls the front door. I control the vault. The numbers were staggering. Enough to rebuild. Enough to wage war. Why help me? Hyun-jung asked. You could sell this information to anyone. Kalia finally turned to face him. In the glow of the monitors, she looked even younger, a child playing games with grown-up consequences. Because Jae-sun has 3 of my father's decryption keys. He needs all 7 to access the master ledger, every criminal organization in the Western Hemisphere. She pointed at Hyun-jung. You're going to get them back. And when you do, I'm going to bury him in data so deep, even his ghosts won't find him. Outside, sirens wailed. Close. Getting closer. Kalia sighed. That would be the police. Jae-sun called in your location 5 minutes ago. She stood, grabbing her backpack. Time to move. The safe house was a condemned brownstone in Pilsen, held together by steel reinforcements and paranoia. Kalia's security team, the 2 operators Hyun-jung had glimpsed earlier, swept the perimeter while she set up a mobile command station on a card table. Servers hummed to life, powered by a generator that coughed diesel fumes into the basement. Hyun-jung watched her work, this child orchestrating an operation with the efficiency of a general. It grated against everything he knew. In his world, respect was earned through blood and years. She had neither. Sit, Kalia said, pointing to a folding chair. We need to establish terms. I don't take orders from a 10-year-old. She didn't look up. You already did. In the alley. When you bowed. She pulled up a holographic display, a 3-dimensional map of Jae-sun's operation. My father's legacy isn't just information. It's insurance. 47 organizations depend on his encryption to keep their secrets buried. 7 of them want me dead because they think a child can't hold the keys. Hyun-jung leaned forward despite himself. And Jae-sun is the loudest threat. But not the only one. She expanded the map, highlighting targets across Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami. You want Jae-sun destroyed. I want to survive long enough to finish 4th grade. We help each other. I work alone. You worked alone. Past tense. Kalia finally met his eyes. Now you work for me. You'll eliminate threats to my father's network. In return, I'll feed you everything you need to dismantle Jason piece by piece. Hyun-jung's jaw clenched. 20 years building an empire, and now he was being recruited by someone who still lost baby teeth. Before he could respond, Kalia's expression shifted. She pressed a finger to her ear, a hidden earpiece. 3 vehicles. Approaching from the west. Thermal signatures show 8 hostiles. One of the security operators burst through the door. We need to evacuate. The window exploded inward. Hyun-jung moved on instinct, tackling Kalia behind an overturned desk as bullets shredded the air where she'd been standing. The 2 operators returned fire, buying seconds. Earpiece, Kalia hissed, shoving a small device into Hyun-jung's hand. Put it in. Now. He did. Her voice filled his head, impossibly calm. 2 on the stairs. One has a shotgun. His right hand, he'll favor the left side of the doorway. Hyun-jung grabbed a fallen operator's pistol, moved to the door, and fired twice before the attacker cleared the threshold. The man dropped. Rooftop access. 3 more coming through the skylight in 15 seconds. Hyun-jung looked up just as shadows crossed the cracked glass. He fired upward, tracking Kalia's count. 1 body crashed through. Then another. Back exit. Clear for 30 seconds. Move. They ran. Kalia's small hand gripped his jacket as he half-carried her through the debris. Behind them, the brownstone erupted in flames, thermite charges the operators had triggered as a final deterrent. In the alley, a nondescript sedan waited, engine running. Kalia climbed into the back seat, breathing hard but controlled. She looked at Hyun-jung. Still think you work better alone? He said nothing. But he kept the earpiece in. The black SUV idled outside St. Jude's Academy at 7:42 a.m., precisely 18 minutes before first bell. Hyun-jung wore a suit that cost more than most teachers' monthly salaries and sunglasses that hid the bruises around his eyes. The other parents eyed him with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Divorced dad, they probably assumed. Private security, at worst. If they only knew. Kalia emerged from the back seat with her backpack and a pink lunchbox that concealed a panic button linked directly to Hyun-jung's phone. She paused at the entrance, watching other children greet each other with easy familiarity, inside jokes, playground alliances, the simple mathematics of friendship. She had none of it. I'll be here at 3:15, Hyun-jung said. 3:17, Kalia corrected. Dismissal is 3:15, but Mrs. Patterson always runs 2 minutes late on Thursdays. She walked toward the building without looking back. Hyun-jung spent the morning parked across the street, monitoring security feeds Kalia had spliced into the school's cameras. Kindergartners at recess. 7th graders sneaking phones during Spanish. Normal. Achingly normal. At 11:47, his phone buzzed. Not the panic button, a text. Bathroom. 2nd floor. Now. He was inside in 90 seconds, moving through hallways decorated with construction paper art. He found Kalia in the girls' bathroom, standing perfectly still while 3 older girls blocked the sinks. Thinks she's so smart, one was saying. Teacher's pet freak. Hyun-jung cleared his throat from the doorway. The girl spun around, faces draining of color at the sight of a 6'2" man in a school bathroom. They scattered like startled birds. Kalia didn't cry. She never cried. She just adjusted her backpack straps and walked past him. You didn't need to come, she said quietly. You texted. I was testing response time. But her voice wavered slightly. That afternoon, Hyun-jung returned at exactly 3:17. A woman in yoga pants and aggressive highlights approached his window, PTA royalty. He recognized the type from Seoul. Excuse me, are you Kalia's? She let the question dangle, fishing. Guardian, he said, the word tasting strange. Oh. Well, we're organizing a playdate mixer this Saturday. I wasn't sure if Kalia would be interested, since she's always so. The woman searched for a diplomatic word. Busy. Hyun-jung glanced at Kalia, who sat alone on the steps pretending to read, carefully positioned where she could see every entrance. She'll be there, he heard himself say. The woman blinked, surprised. Oh. Wonderful. I'll send the details. In the review mirror, Kalia met his eyes. For the first time since they'd met, she smiled. Small. Genuine. The smile of a child who'd been given something she'd stopped hoping for. Hyun-jung realized, with uncomfortable clarity, that he would kill anyone who tried to take that from her. The deal had changed. He just didn't know when. Kalia's bedroom command center glowed at 2:37 a.m. She sat cross-legged on her canopy bed, 3 laptops balanced around her, tracing money through offshore accounts like a bloodhound following a scent. Hyun-jung watched from the doorway, a mug of coffee cooling in his hand. He's funneling funds through a shell corporation in Grand Cayman, she said without looking up. But the physical backup, the Black Ledger, is here. Chicago. First National Bank, Vault 447. Why keep a physical copy? Insurance. Digital can be erased, manipulated. Physical evidence is leverage. She pulled up blueprints of the bank, a fortress of steel and stone in the loop. My father taught me that the most dangerous secrets need to exist in exactly one place. Jae-sun knows this. He's moved the ledger to a vault he controls remotely. Hyun-jung studied the schematics. Security was military grade. This isn't a smash and grab. No. It's surgery. Kalia zoomed in on the vault access system. We have a 4-minute window during the 3 a.m. security rotation. You'll need to bypass 3 checkpoints, crack a biometric lock, and extract the drive before backup systems engage. I'll be in your ear. Like always. She finally looked at him, and in the monitor's harsh light, the shadows under her eyes were pronounced. I mapped 17 different approaches. This is the only one with a survival rate above 60%. 60%. She discussed his death like a math problem. When did you sleep last? Hyun-jung asked. Kalia blinked, as if the question didn't compute. Sleep is inefficient. Jae-sun moves assets every 72 hours. If we don't act tomorrow night, the ledger disappears. Hyun-jung set down his coffee and sat on the edge of her bed, carefully avoiding the laptops. Your father, did he teach you to live like this? Something flickered across her face, pain, quickly suppressed. My father taught me to survive. There's a difference. She pulled up a photo on one screen. A smiling black man with kind eyes, his arm around a much younger Kalia at a science fair. He wanted me to be normal. But normal girls don't inherit criminal empires. Normal girls also don't plan bank heists at 2 a.m. on school nights. It's not a school night. Tomorrow's Friday. But her voice was small, defensive. The voice of a child trying to justify why she couldn't be one. Hyun-jung thought of his own childhood. Brutal, violent, but at least he'd been allowed to be a child before becoming a monster. Kalia had never had that luxury. We do this job, he said. Then Saturday, we go to that playdate. She looked at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. We might die tomorrow night. Then we'll die having RSVP'd properly. He stood, heading for the door. Get some sleep, boss. I need you sharp. For once, she didn't argue. The vault access corridor was too quiet. Hyun-jung felt it in his gut. The particular silence that preceded violence. He'd bypassed the first 2 checkpoints exactly as Kalia had predicted, her voice a steady presence in his ear, guiding him through laser grids and pressure plates. Now he stood before Vault 447, his fingers working the biometric override she'd programmed. 30 seconds, Kalia whispered. You're ahead of schedule. The vault door hissed open. Inside, a single hard drive sat on a velvet cushion, sparklet like a museum piece. Too easy. Too perfect. Kalia. I see it. Analyzing now. A pause. Then, sharply, "Don't touch it. The drive is." The lights died. Emergency reds kicked in, bathing everything in blood. Steel barriers slammed down over the exits. Hyun-jung spun as armed figures emerged from hidden alcoves, 6 men in tactical gear, weapons trained. In his ear, Kalia's breathing quickened. "It's a trap." He knew. "He's been waiting for us." The lead mercenary removed his helmet. "Not Jae-sun, too junior." But the smile was the same predatory satisfaction. "Mr. Park. The boss sends his regards." He spoke into his own comm. "We have the dragon." Tracing his handler now. "Kalia, cut the connection," Hyun-jung said quietly. "I can get you out. The fire suppression system, if I reroute the..." "They're tracking you." "Disconnect." "I won't leave you." Bullets sparked off the floor near his feet. "A warning." "I'm pinned down anyway," Hyun-jung said, calculating angles. 6 targets, minimal cover. Bad odds. Do what you do best. Survive. He heard her sharp intake of breath, then the rapid percussion of keystrokes. The fire suppression system erupted, not water, but halon gas, flooding the corridor in a white fog. Alarm screamed. The mercenary stumbled, disoriented. Hyun-jung moved like smoke, using the chaos. 2 men down before they registered his position. A third caught a bullet meant for someone else. The remaining 3 scattered, shouting coordinates. "East stairwell, clear for 20 seconds, Kalia said, her voice tight with fear. "Go now." He ran, lungs burning, taking stairs 3 at a time. Behind him, reinforcements poured into the building. "They traced me," Kalia said, and now he heard it, raw panic beneath the control. "They have my location. The house. Hyun-jung, they know where I live." He burst onto the street, already sprinting toward the car. How long? 12 minutes. Maybe 15 if they mobilize from the south side. A sound he'd never heard from her before, or a choked sob, quickly suppressed. "I miscalculated. I'm sorry. I should have seen. Pack your go bag. Grab nothing else. I'm for minutes out." He pushed the car to speeds that would have gotten him arrested in any other circumstance. When he screeched into her driveway, Kalia was already outside, backpack clutched to her chest, her white dress replaced with dark clothes. She climbed in without a word. In the review mirror, headlights appeared. Multiple vehicles. The wolf had found the cub's den. The ambush came on Lower Wacker Drive, in the concrete intestines beneath Chicago's streets where even GPS signals died. Hyun-jung had chosen the route precisely for its isolation, no witnesses, multiple exits. He didn't anticipate that Jae-sun had chosen it for the same reasons. The panel van rammed them from behind, sending the SUV fishtailing. Hyun-jung corrected, accelerating, but 2 more vehicles materialized ahead, boxing them in. Professional. Coordinated. Expensive. Seatbelt tight, he barked at Kalia, reaching for the pistol in the center console. She was already typing on a tablet, her face illuminated by the glow. "I can access the tunnel's emergency systems. Give me 30 seconds. The windshield exploded. Hyun-jung felt the tranquilizer dart hit his neck before he saw it, a wasp sting that bloomed into fire, then ice. His vision blurred. The steering wheel became an abstract concept. He heard Kalia screaming his name, felt small hands trying to shake him awake, but his body refused to respond. The SUV careened into a support pillar with a scream of crumpling metal. Through dimming consciousness, Hyun-jung watched figures approach through the shattered windshield. Tactical masks. Military precision. One of them reached past him, grabbed Kalia by her jacket. She fought, scratching, biting, feral with terror, but she weighed 70 pounds against trained soldiers. "No," Hyun-jung tried to say. His tongue was lead. The last thing he heard was Kalia's voice, high and desperate. "Hyun-jung, wake up! Please?" Then darkness swallowed him whole. He woke to silence and pain. His head throbbed where it had cracked against the steering wheel. Blood crusted his temple. The SUV was empty, driver's door hanging open. Hyun-jung stumbled out, nearly collapsing as his legs remembered how to function. The tranquilizer was military grade, he'd been out for at least an hour. The tunnel was deserted. No bodies. No evidence except shattered glass and tire marks. And Kalia's backpack, abandoned on the passenger seat. Hyun-jung picked it up with shaking hands. It was surprisingly heavy, her tablet, spare batteries, a book on quantum physics with a purple bookmark at chapter 7. He opened the front pocket and found her school ID, the photo showing a serious-faced girl who'd never learned to smile for cameras. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered without speaking. Hyun-jung. Jae-sun's voice was warm, almost friendly. You've caused me considerable trouble. But I'm a reasonable man. The girl has information I need. Once she cooperates, I'll return her to you. Mostly intact. If you touch her. You'll what? You're alone. Broken. You have no crew, no resources, no plan. Jae-sun laughed, the sound like breaking glass. You have nothing. The line went dead. Hyun-jung stood in the tunnel, clutching a child's backpack, and felt the old rage rising, the monster he'd buried beneath oaths and honor. Jae-sun was right about one thing. He had nothing left to lose. Which made him very, very dangerous. The Iron Dragon had rules once. Honor codes. Lines he wouldn't cross. He burned them all in a dumpster behind a Chinatown butcher shop and went to war. The first target was a low-level courier who moved messages for Jae-sun's network, a kid, maybe 22, who thought his gang tattoos made him untouchable. Hyun-jung found him at a warehouse in Bridgeport, counting cash with 3 friends. He didn't bother with questions first. When the screaming stopped, the kid gave up a name, Marcus Chen, a middleman who coordinated logistics. The friends didn't survive long enough to give anything. Hyun-jung left no witnesses. Marcus Chen lived in a luxury condo in River North, protected by security cameras and a doorman who took one look at Hyun-jung's blood-spattered suit and reached for the phone. He died reaching. Chen was smarter than the courier. Tried to negotiate, offering money, connections, anything. Hyun-jung broke his fingers one at a time until Chen gave up a location, a shipping company in Gary, Indiana, where Jae-sun's people processed special cargo. The girl, Hyun-jung said, his voice empty of everything human. Is she there? I don't know, I swear, they don't tell me. Chen's swearing ended abruptly. The shipping facility was guarded by 8 men with automatic weapons. Hyun-jung didn't have tactics anymore, didn't have Kalia's voice guiding him through blind spots and timing windows. He had a stolen pistol, a combat knife, and 20 years of violence compressed into pure momentum. He went through them like a storm through paper. The facility supervisor lasted longer than the others, ex-military, trained to resist interrogation. But training assumed the interrogator cared about information more than inflicting pain. Hyun-jung didn't care about anything anymore except finding her. Abandoned steel mill, the supervisor finally gasped, blood bubbling between his teeth. South side. Near the old mills. They're holding high-value assets there. That's all I know, I swear to God. Wrong God, Hyun-jung said. He drove through the night, Chicago blurring past, Kalia's backpack on the passenger seat like a silent accusation. His phone buzzed constantly, blocked numbers, threats, attempts to negotiate. He ignored them all. Somewhere during the hunt, Hyun-jung caught his reflection in a gas station window. His face was a mask of drying blood and ash. His eyes were hollow, mechanical. He looked like something that had died but forgotten to stop moving. Good. Let them see what they'd created. Let Jae-sun understand that taking the girl hadn't just been a tactical error, it had been a death sentence. Not hers. His. The steel mill rose against the dawn sky like a rusted cathedral, and somewhere inside its bones, Kalia was waiting. Hyun-jung checked his weapons one final time and walked toward the gates. The dragon had come home. The steel mill's central furnace room had been converted into a makeshift throne room, Jae-sun's idea of theater. Servers lined the walls, their blue lights casting shadows across rusted catwalks. In the center, Kalia sat in a metal chair, wrists zip-tied, a laptop open before her. She looked impossibly small beneath the vaulted ceiling. Jason stood behind her, one hand resting on her shoulder like a patron at a piano recital. 7 encryption keys, he said softly. Your father's legacy. All I need is your cooperation. Kalia's face was bruised but defiant. My father left instructions for this scenario too. Oh? And what were they? Run. The eastern door exploded inward. Hyun-jung entered like a natural disaster. The first guard died before recognizing the threat. The second managed to raise his weapon before a knife found his throat. Jae-sun's men converged from the catwalks, muzzle flashes lighting the darkness like fireflies. It didn't matter. Hyun-jung moved through them with the efficiency of a machine built for a single purpose. No wasted motion. No hesitation. A guard fired from above. Hyun-jung used the body he was holding as a shield, then threw it into 2 more attackers, sending them over the railing. Another came from behind. Hyun-jung heard the footstep, pivoted, drove his elbow through the man's temple. 15 seconds. 7 bodies. Jae-sun grabbed Kalia, pressing a pistol to her head. Stop, or she dies. Hyun-jung froze, chest heaving, blood-slicked hands empty. There he is, Jae-sun said, almost tender. The famous Iron Dragon. You know what's funny? You taught me everything. Ruthlessness. Efficiency. How to cut out weakness. He pressed the gun harder against Kalia's temple. She whimpered, tears cutting tracks through the grime on her face. And she's your weakness now. Let her go. Your fight is with me. My fight is with obsolescence. You represent the old way, brutal, predictable. I represent evolution. Jae-sun gestured at the servers. Information is the only empire that matters now. And this child holds the keys to. Kalia's hidden smartwatch, a gift from her father, activated. A piercing frequency erupted from the servers, feedback screaming through every speaker in the facility. Jae-sun staggered, hands flying to his ears, the pistol clattering away. Hyun-jung crossed the distance in 3 strides. His first blow shattered Jae-sun's jaw. The second cracked ribs. By the third, Jae-sun was on his knees, exactly where Hyun-jung had been in that Seoul war room. Hyun-jung raised the fallen pistol, finger on the trigger. Hyun-jung. Kalia's voice was small, hoarse. Don't. Not in front of me. Please. He looked at her, this child who'd seen too much, carried too much, lost too much. Slowly, he lowered the gun. For her, he said to Jae-sun, you live. But if I ever see you again? He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Hyun-jung cut Kalia's restraints, and she collapsed into his arms, finally allowing herself to be 10 years old. The 7-star clan's emergency council convened in a neutral restaurant in Seoul, transmitted via encrypted video to a Chicago penthouse. Hyun-jung sat at the head of the conference table, Kalia beside him in her school uniform, homework spread before her like battle plans. The captains who betrayed him were conspicuously absent. The ones who remained, his true loyalists, had spent 3 weeks cleaning house under Kalia's digital guidance. She provided everything. Bank records, communications, locations. Jae-sun's entire network, dismantled with surgical precision. The traitor has fled to Manila, reported Captain Moon, his face grave on the monitor. Do you want him eliminated? Hyun-jung glanced at Kalia. She was solving a long division problem, seemingly disinterested, but he saw her pause fractionally, listening, calculating. Exiled, Hyun-jung said. Stripped of assets and protection. Let the streets have him. Moon bowed. And you'll return to Seoul, Hyun-jung-nim. Hyun-jung looked around the penthouse, 3 bedrooms, bulletproof windows, direct sight line to St. Jude's Academy across the street. He'd purchased the entire building under a shell corporation. The lower floors housed his personal security team. The top floor was Kalia's expanded command center, complete with a study area that actually looked like a child's room, posters of space exploration, a telescope, books that weren't about cryptography. "I'm delegating operations," he said. "I have responsibilities here." The captains exchanged glances but didn't question. The Iron Dragon had returned from exile with his empire intact and a mysterious child advisor who'd orchestrated the entire resurrection. In the underworld, such things became legend quickly. After the call ended, Kalia closed her math workbook. "You don't have to stay. I can manage alone now." "I know you can." Hyun-jung stood, checking his watch. "But it's 3:15. I promised you a ride." The black SUV idled in the pickup lane, drawing its usual curious stares. Hyun-jung leaned against the hood, watching children pour from the building in chaotic streams, normal children with normal problems, arguing about soccer games and birthday parties. Kalia emerged with 2 other girls, all 3 carrying poster boards for a science project. She was laughing, actually laughing, at something one of them said. When she spotted Hyun-jung, she waved goodbye to her friends and walked over. "Mr. Park," she said formally, though her eye sparkled with private amusement. "Miss Brooks," he replied, opening the rear door. She paused before getting in, studying him with that too-old expression she wore when analyzing complex problems. "You know you don't have to keep doing this. The debt is paid. You have your empire back." Hyun-jung thought about the monster he'd been, the dragon who ruled through fear. Then he thought about a small hand gripping his in a tunnel, trusting him when trust should have been impossible. He bowed, not the desperate submission of that first night, but something deeper. A choice freely made. "With respect, boss," he said quietly, "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Kalia smiled, genuine and bright, and climbed into the SUV. As they drove away from the school, past PTA moms and crossing guards and all the mundane machinery of childhood, Hyun-jung caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. She was already back on her tablet, managing empires between spelling tests. The Oracle and her dragon. Partners.